Hey everybody, welcome to the Show Board Game Reviews. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to the tabletop gaming hobby, and this is a video series looking at the game of Dungeon Decorators. Now, Dungeon Decorators is a 2 to 4 player game from Slugfest Games. Plays about 60 to 75 minutes, and this is a drafting tile laying game where players are trying to build the best dungeon to attract their dungeon overlords. Whoever builds the best dungeon that attracts the most, well, the two best dungeon overlords is going to score the most amount of victory points and win the game. Now, this video is just a quick overview of how the game is actually played, but if you want to see an actual tutorial, see some sample gameplay, or see my actual review of the game, check out the videos in the series. Come on back after a break for a quick overview of Dungeon Decorators. In Dungeon Decorators, players are trying to build the best dungeon to influence two dungeon overlords who are selected at the start of the game. And every one of these dungeon overlords is going to request certain things that they want from their dungeon before they're willing to move in. Whoever makes their dungeon meet those requirements the best is going to score some extra victory points in the game. So we have one dungeon overlord who will be requesting certain layouts of their dungeon, and there's going to be another dungeon lord who wants to have the player who has the most of one thing decorating their dungeon to go ahead and attract their influence and go ahead and give that player the most victory points. But there's additional ways players are going to score victory points. That's going to be by having decoration goals fulfilled, and also by having shape goals fulfilled by having their dungeon decorated in certain different ways as they're going ahead and building their dungeons. At the start of the game, we're going to build up the bag by having a blue bag, which is going to have 50 tiles out of the 120 that come in the game. And then we're going to have a red bag that's going to have the other 50. Of the 120, the extra 20 are removed from the game, adding a little bit of extra replay variety to the game itself. Once we have the red bag also having 50 tiles, that's going to get 3 hourglass tiles. If ever we have the third hourglass tile that is going to be drawn, that's pretty much going to be the end of the game. We're going to add up all our victory points, whoever has the most amount of victory points will be the grand winner of the game. Now, at the start of every single round, we're going to start every single round by drawing 4 tiles out of the bag, and then players are going to draft these tiles in player order. Now, these tiles, when they're laid out, they're all double-sided. One side of the tile is going to show decorations that can be added to the dungeon, because some overlords like our dungeons to be decorated. Some overlords just prefer their dungeons to have a certain layout. We're going to lay out these tiles based on the numbers in the upper left-hand corner from smallest all the way up to the largest number. And then players in player order are going to take turns drafting these tiles and they add them over to their dungeon. So for example, the yellow player may take this tile and they will add it over here, getting ready to add it to their board. And again, all players are going to take their entire turn before the next player gets to go, but I'm just doing this quickly to show you how this all works. Purple may take this tile and they'll get that tile and they'll be adding it to their dungeon. Black may take this tile and add it to their dungeon right over here. And then finally, red was either stuck with this tile or a random draw from the bag. Well, let's go ahead and take this tile and we're going to add this tile to our dungeon. Once the players have picked their individual tile, because remember, they're going to do our individual turn. We're not going to draft all together like this. Once we've done that, we're going to add the tile to our dungeon. Now, there's a couple different ways we can add this tile. We can either add it as a catacomb tile or we can add it as a decoration. Now, decorations have certain rules they need to follow and catacombs have certain rules they need to follow. But once it's been added to the dungeon itself, it's pretty much stuck there unless we play magical powers which are going to influence it. And yeah, there's a couple different ways we influence with certain assistants who can help us modify our dungeons. But let's just say in this example, I'm going to go ahead and build my dungeon like this. Now, the reason why we're going to build up our dungeons is not only to influence these bosses, but we're also trying to meet these goals of these cards that we have hidden in our hand that no other player gets to see. So for example, we see that the red player is trying to build a dungeon that has a corridor that's any color, and we want to have a room that's any color. If we manage to build that onto our dungeon, we'll score 4 victory points, and we'll get to draw a new card because we're always going to have 4 cards in our hand. If we manage to build a dungeon that has orange and red, followed right after each other, we are going to gain 7 more victory points, and again, we'll draw another card. If we manage to get a hallway that has a chest on it and a sword as a decoration, we're going to get some more victory points. Or we may have a hallway that requires a gear or a torch, but whatever it happens to be, that's how we're going to build up our dungeon. So in later turns, we may build a dungeon that may look something like this. That's going to score us a couple different of extra victory points. For example, I may have this tile like this. I may have this tile just like this. And then finally, I may have this tile like this. And the nice thing is we can score multiple cards at one time, but you can't score a card that you just drew. There's no cheating in doing that. Otherwise, we'd definitely be snowballing the victory points and going through the luck and the randomness that could happen from doing that. But we see in this example, I have an orange and a red, so I'd be able to score this, and that would give me 7 victory points for the red player. I can also score this one because I have a colored corridor and a colored room. That's going to give me another 4 victory points. And once we score victory points, we're simply going to layer cards down because there's some bosses that require you to have a whole bunch of shape goals, a whole bunch of decoration goals, but that's based on the boss you've chosen. Once all the players have laid their tiles out, we're simply going to go to another round where we're going to fill the board with 4 more tiles. We're going to place those 4 tiles out just again like we did before. And then every single player is going to continue to draft these tiles, continuing to build up their dungeon. And as we do this, we're working towards the eventual goal, the ending goal of having the 3rd hourglass drawn. Once the 3rd hourglass is drawn, that's going to be the end of the game. Players are going to have all their victory points based on the shape goals they managed to accomplish, based on who managed to get the goals of every one of those dungeon lords the best, and also based on extra victory points, based on extra victory points for the colors of your dungeon, stars that happen to be in your dungeon, and other things that we can do to score victory points. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game is going to be the grand winner of the game of Dungeon Decorators. Now, this is just a quick overview of the game of Dungeon Decorators itself. If you want to see a sample gameplay, learn how to play the game, or actually just get my final review of the game, check out the other videos in the series. This is just a quick overview for the game itself. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I will get to them as quickly as I can. You also feel free to email me at offtheshelfboardgamereviews. That's otsbgr@gmail.com. I will definitely answer your email as quickly as I can. You can also think about supporting the channel over on Patreon. Just $1 in the tip jar can help me cover my costs, help keep the channel growing strong, and keep bringing out more content for you. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and as always, thank you for watching.